Humans, welcome. Today we're going to be installing some shower glass into this tub. I've got just a standard, builder grade built-in shower tub combo, and we're going to make this look a lot nicer today. There's different kits out there. The one that I'm using today is made by Koehler, but I've done the ones that are made by Delta as well. And looking at the two, it seems like they're fairly similar. I would guess the other brand's probably the same. So yeah, let's get to it. The first thing you do before you even buy the kit that's going to go in here, you need to measure the height of the shower part of your shower tub combo. If you buy a kit without doing that first, you can do it like I have done and buy one that's too tall, and once you do that, there's really nothing you can do. So it needs to be this height or lower. And you need to measure from the top of the tub, and then the other thing that you need to measure is the width. The doors will overlap more if it's narrower, but if it's too tall, there's no way to go in and fix that other than boxing it all up, returning it, and buying a new kit. Ask me how I know. Now, as far as the tools go that you're going to need to install this, according to the box here, we need some masking tape, silicone, and a caulk gun, and a hacksaw, because you got to cut aluminum, so can't use just a regular wood cutting handsaw. A level, tape measure, a file, and some drill bits. Now, one of the things that it says on the package is to use a masonry bit if you're drilling into tile. What it doesn't tell you is if you have porcelain tile, you need to get a diamond drill bit. Now, in this bathroom, it's just standard builder grade fiberglass, I believe it is. But in the last one of these that I installed in my old house was on porcelain tile, and I had to buy 3 different drill bits before I got the one I need. The one that you actually need if you're going to be drilling through porcelain is going to be one like this guy here. It's basically a little diamond, almost like a hole saw, and this works really well. This will cut right through porcelain. A standard drill bit will not, at least not without breaking it. A masonry drill bit will not, and using those kind of flat spade looking bits will not either. So just be aware of that, and buy the right thing and buy it once instead of buying 2 things first to see that they don't work before you buy the right one. They are expensive. I think they're like 30 bucks a piece or something, which is more than usually an entire set of regular wood drill bits cost. So the first thing that we want to do is measure the width across the shower. What the instructions want us to do, it's not worded well, but basically it needs to be, we need to cut the threshold, which is the part that runs along the bottom here, or on the top of the tub rail, but the bottom of the shower door system. And it needs to be 3/8 of an inch shorter than the width of the shower. So first thing we need to do, measure the width of our shower. Here we've got 55.5 inches. All right, so we want to take and measure our threshold. On my shower, it's 55.5 inches. So it's telling me to make 2 marks. One is going to be on right at 55.5, and then the other one's going to be 3/8 of an inch shy of that. So you can use a pencil here. I'm just going to use a razor blade because that's what I have in my pocket to mark that. So now we've got 55.5 inches, and I want to come in 3/8 of an inch on top of that, and make sure that I get that right. So right here, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3/8. It's going to put us right here. And I'll show you a better shot of that in 1 second. All right, so now you can see my marks. The mark on the outside here, which is going to be this mark here, that guy is at 55.5 inches. This one is going to be 3/8 of an inch shy of that. That's where we want to cut it with a hacksaw, and we want the cut to be, flat, square across there. Double check your measurements so you make sure that you're on. I've done that. We look good. So I'm going to find where I put that second mark, which is right there. I'm going to cut through this top part first. Now what I want to do is make sure that you try to stay square, straight across, at least as best as you can. If not, you can always file it down a little bit later. You can also use a Dremel for this as well, which would probably be easier, but it's down in the basement. I don't feel like going down the pipe. That's better. All right, so now we've got a pretty clean end here, and this should fit right between our rails. We've got everything cut to the right length, but the shower itself, if I can bring you down here, you can see that there is a kind of semicircle where it goes, rounded edge, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. And because of that, we're not going to be able to sit flat. So you can see right now that it's up over the top. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we can get this to be, the aluminum here to be rounded so that it'll properly fit down in there, and I'll show you how. So the way that you find this measurement here, this radius, is you want to find a coin and just, go through different ones until you find one that's the same size. This penny happens to be just right, so we're going to use this as a template to grind down the other. All right, now that we know exactly what size to make the cut here, we're going to take, and I'm going to mark that. You can just use a pencil on aluminum, it'll stay for a little bit anyway. And we're going to do that to both sides, and that's going to tell us where we need to cut it. All right, and if you have a belt sander like this, a stationary belt sander, it's also great, by the way, instead of filing, for cleaning up the edge. Here we go to our line. Now you can see that it's rounded off. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side and see you back upstairs. All right, I'm done with both of the sides. You can see, or at least I hope you can see, right here, there's just a tiny, tiny bit that overlaps. So I am gonna take that off before we go back upstairs, and then we'll go from there. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is to use the silicone to attach the threshold to the bath rail. So we're going to silicone underneath that and put it down right in the middle of the rail. Before I do that, I'm also going to silicone in the sides in the directions it has doing that after. I've got a pretty snug fit. I don't think I'm going to be able to slide them around, so I'm going to do it beforehand. All right, now on this particular model, has the way that this is going to fit, there's a little lip on the underside here. That's to make sure that it holds silicone to keep water from being able to run underneath the rail. So we want to make sure that when we put that on, that is to the outside. So I'm going to run a bead, pretty fat bead with silicone, and I usually will run some on the outside as well. You want to keep it looking nice and neat, but you definitely want it to have full coverage. so that you don't have any water getting through. Now as you push down, this is going to kind of squeeze out, but I am going to run another bead behind it as well. And you know, belt and suspenders, right? So before you push it down, try to get it nice and centered. If you have a snug fit, it's pretty much going to be centered because it won't be able to fit, you know, in there kind of sideways. So we're going to push this down. I'm also going to tape it with some masking tape and make sure that it's nice and firm. And I'm going to run a bead of silicone on the back edge to make sure that everything is nice and sealed up. Which is super easy to do. Just run a light bead right across the back. Now, depending on how much silicone you put underneath, you might see some that's already coming out. And that's fine, just leave it. Just try to keep it as even as you can. Uniform, I guess I should say. Try to keep it as uniform as you can across, because that's what's going to look nice. All right, now that we've got silicone on there, spill a little bit, it's okay, like some drips and stuff, that's all right, you can get that off. But what we want to do is make it nice and neat, and you can use your finger running along the back side here, and you can make kind of a little groove. Any excess silicone that you have, you can actually just use some toilet paper, paper towel, something like that. And then we'll get that off. But the finger is a good tool for making sure that you're running like a nice kind of curved bead that nothing is going to drag on. But you got to have enough material there to push along. Otherwise, you're just going to be wiping off the material that's there instead of shaping the material. This is looking good. Try not to get it on your jeans. And it's a lot harder to get off than the tub, for sure. Looks like I made it okay so far. All right, I'll just clean up and we're gonna tape this down and wait for it to dry. Basically, I'm using the tape as a clamp to hold this down in place until the silicone cures. Super simple. Alright, so the next thing we gotta do, whole family's home now, so if you hear dogs chewing squeak toys or kids in the background, that's how it is. But we want to take and use an alcohol wipe, and we're going to wipe down the walls on both sides, where we're going to install the jams, I think they are, kind of the side rails. Now there is a difference between like this Koehler version and the one that I've done before, which is a Delta, in which the Delta has like actual rails that run up the side and drill and screw into the sides. This one is they stick on, so we'll see how well they remain stuck. If not, that might be something in the future that we'll have to revisit if it doesn't want to stay there. But anyway, per their instructions, I'm going to scrub this real good with an alcohol wipe, get any residue off of there. All right, so on these guys, there is a a short side and a long side. The long side goes towards the front, and there's actually a little groove that it kind of slides in this particular model. So it's easy to tell if it's where it needs to be. Now we're going to put a level on this in just 1 second. I'm going to get a piece of tape out so that I can stick this in one place while I'm getting it level. So we're just going to put a piece of tape there real quick, grab a level, see how close I was. Try not to trip. Looks like I'm off. A little far back. Let's try that. We're almost there. There we go. Okay, so it needs to go right here. What I'll probably do is just grab a pencil, make a mark. That way I can make sure that I put it right back where I know it fits. So now we're going to take the backing off of these and affix them to the wall. It's just kind of like sticky tape. Now I did make a mark, a reference mark along the side here, so I know exactly where to put it back to make sure that we're nice and plumb. The directions say to start from the bottom, so we're going to try that. Not sure why it would matter, but they seem to think it does. Who am I to say otherwise? And there's a little, and with this specific kit, there is a little notch that this sits down into, so maybe that's why. Maybe they want you to be able to hit it right on that notch. Now this is pretty easy. You can just lay it down against the side and pull this backer off as you come up. And just follow along your line. And keep it nice and neat. At least I was. All right, so now we've got an issue. That's always fun. It's not a big one though. Basically the little backing here is trying to separate. So you got to come in the other side. But what I don't want to do is pull too hard, or I'm unsticking more than I need to, because as we all know, once you unstick something, it's a lot harder to get it back stuck again. So that ended up okay. So I think we're going to be fine. All right. And then make sure you push hard all the way down. Make sure that it's nice and sealed. Looks good. I'm going to do the same thing but on the other side. Next up, this Koehler unit that I have here comes with a guide, which is really handy to mark and drill the holes where the top rail is going to go to support the glass. It slides right over the jamb that we installed, and it says to mark 2 diagonal holes. Now we know that that's level, or at least it should be, because we plumbed it. So mark 2 of the diagonal holes. And then the next step is going to be to take a 5/16 drill bit and drill into that. All right, so here's where it starts to get real. We've got to put holes in the existing shower. So we're going to line these up. We've already made the marks before. Try to center the tip of your drill bit. Looks good. Now it says 5/16, which looks real big to me, but that's what they suggest. You know what? Try to set that up to drill. Yep, there we go. It's one down. All right, so the next step is to put in these wall hangers. These are the type you've probably seen before. These little guys here, you kind of pinch them together and they go inside the hole, and then when you insert a screw, they flare out and hold everything still. If you happen to have a stud in the perfect spot, that's always going to be the best way to do it. But the odds of that happening are not very good. So we're going to push these guys in. And yes, 5/16 was the right size, even though it seemed a little big. But when you put in these wall anchors, they need some room. So we're going to grab a hammer for some persuasion. All right, so you can use a hammer to tap in these wall anchors. Obviously be careful, and you don't want to smash them. There's a fine line between getting them tapped in and keeping them straight. So don't wail on it. Just tap it enough to get it in there. All right. The next part is to install these brackets. So that same guide that we used earlier, which helped me line up where we wanted to put those holes, we're going to use the same guide to install the bracket. Slips in here. You want the other side facing out, the opposite side than what we had earlier. And then we're going to put it back in the same location. And then everything lines up perfectly. So I'm just going to start these by hands and then get the drill and get them put in there. There we go. Once you get these far enough in there, you can take the guide off and then sink them the rest of the way. All right, now the one thing it did say that we need to make sure is that these are level. So there's a little bit of wiggle room with these so you can adjust them afterwards. Sorry, my dog is scared of the lighting and he's gonna be bumping the camera. Not much I can do about that. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is install what they call the header. It's basically the rail across the top of the shower. It's going to go a lot like the threshold. It's going to go a lot like the threshold at the bottom, except that we don't have quite as much fiddly stuff to deal with the edges, and we don't have to radius the curves. So that makes it a lot easier. But we do have more metal to cut through, so we just bang everything around. All right, so what we want to do is we're going to measure all the way across the top. And you can't just use your measurements from the bottom because a lot of times they're not the same. In fact, this one's not the same. So it's 55 and a half at the bottom when I did that. And the top here is looking like a real pro. The top here is like 55 and 3/4. So it's about 1/4 of an inch difference. Hey, buddy. Come here, buddy. Hey, buddy. You scared? Huh? The lineman scary? The lineman being scary? You need to put your thunder shirt on? Huh? We need to put your thunder shirt on? Yeah. Hey, buddy. It's okay. It's fine. It's just thunder. It's not gonna hurt you. Let's go put your thunder shirt on. Come on. Come on. All right, so I went downstairs and cut this off with a Dremel to make it a lot easier on myself. So definitely recommend doing that. The cutoff wheel definitely makes it easier. Now, once it sits down in here, there's still two pieces that need to go up into the sides. My dog is sort of in frame. He's scared of thunder, so he's just going to stay there. So we need two of these bumpers, and these go up into the track. Should be this way. So you kind of want to push them in and then twist them into place. Now this will help hold it, but also it will, as the name bumper implies, it works as a bumper to make sure that when you open and close the door, that you're not slamming it against the wall. So this next part is different depending on what manufacturer you have and what kit you have. And that's putting the door together. Now they will work in a similar way where you have these little plastic pieces that are going to fit through a hole, or at least pinch together at a hole in the glass. And then you're going to have a hanger that's going to fit over top of that, a little bracket. And there's multiple areas where you can put the screw. This little plastic piece protects the glass and allows you to line up the hanger here with the roller so that it'll roll nice across the track. So refer to the instruction manual for your specific door for that one. I'll let you watch as I put this one together, but this is probably the easiest part. I probably jinxed myself saying that. I typically start off, if there's multiple spots that you can install the rollers to, like different heights, I usually just start in the middle. And then you'll know whether or not you need to go up or down. On the side of the one. It's good enough. That's one. We've got one more to do. All right, so off camera, I took and adjusted these hangers to where the glass would hang a little bit lower, as well as had to flip these around because I had them on the wrong side. Again, these are all things that you want to find out and fix before you get everything in there. And if something's not looking like it's going to fit, stop, back up a step, and then move forward. Because the last thing you want to do is damage something, and then you're out the entire product. So, anyway. So the next thing to do is to take the doors and put them in our rail up here. It's got two stickers that say where the insertion points are. All that means is the rail is sort of cut away on the inside to allow the wheels themselves to slip up in there. That way you can position the doors in with enough clearance to kind of move them around. So the other thing to note too, because we've got a lip on the outside here, when we put the door in, if you were to put it in this way, it's not going to fit because it's going to hit that lip. So you need to basically put the door into the bathtub and insert it coming towards you so it'll lay down in the track and give enough clearance for the glass. Yep, that looks good. And then now we're going to do the outside door. It's not too, it's fun. So, yeah. Carefully, on this side. There's one on here. Okay. Lean here, guys. Move together. All right. Now we got 2 doors. This is the piece that we're going to install next, and I'll put that in now. And you want to kind of center this right in the middle with the doors closed. And then once that's in place, you want to mark it. And then we're going to use some silicone to hold it into place. Okay, so 2 more steps. We're just about at the end. So we've just put the guide here down at the bottom. I've got these little knobs that go on the other glass that doesn't have the handrail, so that you can open that from the inside and the outside. So on this, you want to put the bigger size knob to the shower, the smaller size knob that'll go kind of sandwiched between the 2. This just sticks on with 3M adhesive, and you want to make sure you clean that area with an alcohol swab first. Now, a trick if you've never used this gray 3M adhesive, sorry, my dog's still up here. So if you've never used this 3M adhesive before, if it's cold when you're doing this, you're going to want to heat that up first. Right now it's the middle of summer, it's hot, so I'm not worried about it. But if you're doing this in the middle of winter, hit that with a hair dryer and get it nice and warm. It'll stick a lot better for you. The way I'm going to line this up is by putting these 2 together and then basically sticking it right over top of where the other rail is on the outside. Go ahead and get the other side cleaned up too. So once you have one on, then it's easy to do the other one because you're going to stick it right over top of that dot. There we go. So we got our frame in, top and bottom. We've got our jambs put up. We've got our glass in. We've got the handles. And the last thing to do is run some silicone on that actual guide block down at the bottom to keep that in place. And then we're going to run another bead of silicone all along the outside of the shower, down these jambs, down the outside here, and then back up. And that'll be it. So, almost done. Yeah, well, the silicone will definitely help instead of just the plastic seal, yeah? that's it. Well, other than take off all these stickers and clean all the fingerprints on the glass. All right, so that's everything with the shower. We're completely done. If you have any questions, comments, you can leave those down below. Anyway, hope you have a great day. If not, better tomorrow. We'll see you.